Hello everybody and welcome back to La-Mulana lore. Even though we've gone 3 videos without a traditional lore video, we haven't exactly found any new stuff since we've been doing backtracking most of all rather than going to new areas. Now that we've actually beaten bosses though, we can explore more negaverses and see how this is integrated into the narrative of La-Mulana. The developers do a lot of neat tricks and pull a bunch of weird stunts with the words with what we see today, so you'll certainly enjoy that. So get your pens out, kids. The main motif we explore today is the dungeons we explored in these videos, namely the Graveyard of the Giants and its contrast, the Mausoleum of the Giants. This may seem like a very simple thing, but if you look at the definitions of these areas, then things make a lot more sense in context. A mausoleum is actually a building used to entomb people, usually reserved for people of high social ranking or someone of importance, like say a Shah of Iran or other stuff. Kings, you know the drill. Conversely, graveyards are just places where we lay everyone else to rest after their death, and is meant to be more of a symbolic thing for religion rather than actual importance. Looking at these names, this is actually really clever because in Mausoleum of the Giants we only ever see the 9 main leaders of the Giants in a prestigious display, while in Graveyard of the Giants we see giant corpses carelessly strewn about as if they were a pile of corpses in a war. It really complements the backstory of the Giants quite well in this game. In Graveyard of the Giants, we run across a tablet that makes mention of Tojin. Tojin isn't a cultural icon at all, however in Japanese it can be translated as sword blade. La-Mulana veterans may find this pretty clever, but for now it's just simple trivia. In the Temple of the Moon, we come across the Fruit of Eden. Anyone with a basic knowledge of Abrahamic religion knows about the Fruit of Eden and how it got Adam and Eve kicked out of paradise, but there's some interesting context to this. In most Abrahamic renditions, the fruit of knowledge from Eden is typically an apple. In La-Mulana, the fruit of Eden, that unleashes the actual truth of Eden, is a pear. This may seem arbitrary, but if we look at human symbolism, the apple is usually associated with the male's body figure, while the woman's figure is typically associated with a pear. That knowledge coupled with the theme of man versus woman in Temple of the Sun and Temple of the Moon make the fruit of Eden in La-Mulana make a bit more sense, but it's certainly an interesting take on that concept. More Temple of the Moon trivia. One of the puzzles for unlocking Eden requires you to find the Dancing Man, also known as MJ. This may seem like an arbitrary reference, but one of Michael Jackson's masterpieces was the movie Moonwalker, and he did coin the moonwalk. It's only natural that he's in an Egyptian temple dedicated to the moon. Naturally. Yeah. Now on to the bestiary. The first guardian we fight in Gate of Guidance is Amphisbaenia. Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce that. The two-headed snake. While we find this beast in an area themed around South America, the Guardian is actually inspired from Greek mythology. The two-headed snake was spawned from the blood of Medusa after she was decapitated, and possesses venom so potent it could kill a man in one bite. Oddly enough, there's also a lot of folk medicine centered around Amphisbaenia, ranging from the cure to the common cold, to being a means of attracting the opposite sex. In La-Mulana, however, Amphisbaenia is just a fire-breathing twin-headed snake. Huh. The fourth guardian we fought in the last video was Bahamut. Another widely famous gaming icon, Bahamut is usually defined as the dragon god that rules all over through sheer might and all that nonsense. Oddly enough, Bahamut exists in Arabic mythology depicted exactly as we see him in La-Mulana, which is fascinating since it's the farthest thing we imagine Bahamut looking like. In Arabian mythology though, Bahamut is supposedly one of the layers that supports the earth. In the story 1001 Nights, Jesus actually encounters Bahamut on one night before passing out at the sight of him. It's a very interesting interpretation, especially since Bahamut is such a mighty figure in La-Mulana as well. In Inferno Cavern, we run across the mid-boss Pazuzu. Pazuzu is actually a Babylonian demon lord, being the bearer of storms and drought. He's depicted as a being with the body of a man, the head of a dog, feet of an eagle, 2 pairs of wings, and a scorpion tail. Pazuzu is a very popular icon in video games as well, ranging from Final Fantasy to Castlevania, and naturally La-Mulana. Luckily he's not as ridiculously detailed in La-Mulana, he's just a dude with wings that throws boulders at you. Not really befitting a wind demon, but whatever. In the Temple of the Moon, we run into several Anubises. Anubisi... whatever. The game is pretty true to the incarnation of Anubis, with him being the god of the dead and the son of Nephthys and Set. The fabled Book of the Dead in-game is actually a series of papyrus scrolls detailing the mummification process of humans, and the steps Anubis takes to judge humans in the afterlife. La-Mulana does a great job summarizing the various facets of Anubis' splendor. Shame they left out the bit of him beating up archaeologists with a stick. Oh wait. Finally, the last mid-boss we run into is Argus on the surface. Argus is a Greek icon and is exactly as he is in-game. A titan with several eyes all over his body and servant to Hera. Argus's primary job was to defend the cow Io from Zeus. Zeus apparently didn't like this one bit and tasked Hermes to kill Argus for this cow. In La-Mulana, Argus is once again a guardian, but his hostage is more of an avian artifact rather than cow. Also, he has an aversion to snakes. And that's all for this episode of La-Mulana lore. Next week we check out an upside-down La Venta ruins. Also, Chinese stuff. Yeah, this place is great. Later.